I want to introduce our presenter. His name is Howard Staples, and Howard is a self-described recovering engineer. And that is, he went to work on himself over 20 years ago to rebuild his own skill set in the emotional realm. He's immersed himself in Buddhism, A Course in Miracles, psychodrama, Gestalt, rebirthing. And in doing so, he's reconnected with his own feelings and learned how to express them in a way that feeds his primary love relationship. And he's also made his world joyous and sweet in the process. And now what he takes great joy in is helping others take back their own sense of selfness and peace. And Howard is one of our presenters at the upcoming ConneXions Intensive Weekend Workshop. And I'd love to turn it over to you, Howard Staples.
Great, thank you. And greetings, everybody. As Corey mentioned, my name is Howard Staples, and I'm very delighted and eager to be part of the ConneXions team, because this theme of connections is a really vital and valuable thing for me in my life. And so I'll introduce a little bit of myself first, but I also want to first acknowledge Bob Jones, who's been initiator of this ConneXions program here with us on the call, and greet all attendees. So thank you for joining us. Now, also say that we do have this mechanism so you can mute your sound, but if you feel like you relate to something, you can always raise hand in the participant screen, or raise your hand like this and say hi if you relate to something I'm talking about. Yes, and so we are going to be muting this for most of the call just to make it interesting, but if you do relate or if you want to, raise your hand. So a little bit more about myself is that I am 60 years old now. And I've had my own hero's journey, as Bob's put it, on this whole route of reconnecting myself. And I was born in a large family, 7th out of 8th in the prairies of Saskatchewan. And really the message I learned growing up as I was very young is basically shut up, behave, and work hard, which it worked in a way because I learned to work hard, and I certainly also learned to shut up. One of the things is that at a very young age, I didn't feel anybody was emotionally there for me, so I shut down emotionally quite significantly. As I recall back, I don't think I had any emotional connection from age 10 to age 30. And what I mean by that is other situations where most people would be angry, I didn't even register anger, never mind express it. Or grief, I wouldn't even register grief. At most, I'd register a bit of anxiety. And so that's kind of where later, as I became an engineer, I was very good and worked hard and earned good money as an engineer, but I didn't have a very fulfilling life. And also in this whole area of relationship has been very valuable. And relationship, of course, in that state where I'm shut down, if I can't connect with my own passion, it's really hard for other people to connect with me. So as I started to try to get into a relationship in my 20s, it was pretty pathetic, I must say, with any sort of lack of emotional content of my part, or for that matter, if a person I was trying to date, I use that word trying to date quite deliberately, would come up with any emotional contact, I would disappear because I wouldn't know how to handle it. So, relationships at best lasted for about a year for me, and very few were very deep relationships for quite a long time, until the loneliness of that experience really got to me so much that I started at age 30 to get involved in personal growth work. And that was really dramatically turning around for me. And I had the great fortune of meeting my wife, Miriam, just as I was starting into my personal growth work. So we shared a common interest, because I met her through a personal growth workshop. We shared a common interest of really working ourselves to heal ourselves. And that has been a huge blessing in my life, enormous. So I'll say in terms of this realm of shutting down and shutting off, is that I've gone from that state of being extremely emotionally shut down to really awakening a lot of passion, a lot of love, a lot of joy in my life. I've created an intentional community called a co-housing community, which I initiated with my wife, Miriam, which many, many deep relationships we share in this community that I lived here for 20 years. And it's incredible the amount of joy and passion just to be able to engage with kids here. I've led many programs, and I've been particularly person to call on for helping people in their emotional breakthrough. So, I've kind of developed a certain natural expertise, kind of like the recovering alcoholic is best to help the alcoholic. The recovering person was previously emotionally shut down is excellent for helping others who emotionally shut down. So I also want to say, what I really want to talk about is relationships, really making relationship work. And we had a great fortune in our marriage to really, really use our relationship for healing. Now, basically, my experience of that, I'll just give you the long and short of it, is that we grew up with this fairy tale that Prince Charming will come into our lives, or Princess Charming will rescue us and provide all the love and joy that we want. It's fairy tales that seem to be endemic in society, even in Hollywood stories. We have these fairy tales going on that other people are going to give love to me. And that, I want to say, is a complete fairy tale. Our experience of love and joy is completely a function of how much we are willing to communicate. It's not a function of what other people are going to do for us. Well, it is nice, of course, but really our true experience of love and joy comes from what fullness we are willing to communicate. And what do I mean by full communication? That's very important because, for example, if a person is only communicating their anger, only communicate their judgments, only communicating their upsets, that's not a very full communication, obviously. And so that most people would not want to relate very well to. That's going to be very difficult to relate to. Another example is if a person is only just being sweet and lovey-dovey. That also is not very fully communicating. Because there's no doubt if somebody's just being sweet and lovey-dovey, there's going to be a lot of stuff pushed under the carpet. A lot of that stuff in life not dealt with until that carpet gets so big that you can't even see each other. So also want to say full communication involves full revealing of what's going on in your mind, full revealing of what's going on in your feelings. And that is so valuable. We've had people in prior programs that say, go through programs of full communication with others in dyad, and they say, wow, I suddenly feel really in love with this person that I had been communicating with. And as a result from their own communication, they go to another person and they say, oh, now I'm really in love with him. I'm kind of afraid I may be gay. But it's nothing to do with sex. It has to do with full communication. So also say that in my own life, as is many people, we develop these blocks to connection within ourselves, blocks in our belief system, blocks in our energy system that says, oh, I can't be intimate with others. Maybe they won't, they will betray my trust, or maybe they'll leave me, maybe they'll abandon me. There's a variety of different blocks that come up into our energy system as we learn to condition ourselves in our relationships. And so the most important part of communication is to open up and share about your own blocks. That is incredibly valuable, because with that sharing, that is basically what restores the deeper connection with others. And I'll say for myself is that, for example, I grew up with and believed in a fair bit of resentment that I held on to towards my parents for not being there for me as I grew up. Okay, so, holding on to that resentment does not work. Really, one thing I realized, and I believe is true, is that for most people, is that it's not so much what originally happened that upsets us. Our deeper upset is what we hold on to for many years that keep us in the same pattern. So if we can get to a place where we can release those blocks, whatever it is, it could be blame, it could be resentment, it could be judgments that we hold on to, it could be old patterns of believing that I've been abandoned or I've been betrayed, all kinds of these things. If we go into a pattern of starting to release these, it's a tremendous amount of love and joy and peace of mind and sense of connection with life that comes back into our experience. And that's kind of the essence of what this connection program is about. And so this fairy tale, I want to say, Prince Charming is going to someday come to us and give us the magic kiss and we come alive. Our whole Hollywood ethic is filled with that fairy tale as well. I just want to say that very likely most people, if they're depending on this love coming from outside themselves, they're probably going to find themselves very unhappy with that relationship very quickly. And it's not a happily ever after scenario. The happiness comes in when, for example, in my case, when I take a look at the choices I made at a very young age to shut down. I can think of times when my grandfather died, or times when a dog died, that I made. It wasn't anybody else forcing me to shut down. I made choices to shut down my emotions, to go back and re-choose and open up. And my experience, my own personal experience with so many people is that the love, the joy, the sense of freedom, the sense of empowerment really comes back in a huge way. So I'm just going to open up and engage a little bit of dialogue if people wish to share. And I just want to ask questions in terms of what blocks to connection to love, joy, freedom have you uncovered in your life? Because people have their own hero stories, which is what we work with. And they've come to various places where they've uncovered something. And then what new experience or new possibility opened up as you uncovered or released that?